Well, hello, I'm Joanna Clark with Blissful Baby Sleep Coaching, and I am so excited and delighted to be interviewing Grace Kraaijvanger of the Hivery. And this is in association with my Brand's Gratitude Project of WO3, which is the focus is to partner, promote, and support female-owned businesses in the month of March. And so Grace has the ultimate female-owned business, and I want you to tell us all about the Hivery. Grace, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, Joanna, thank you so much for having me. I've been so looking forward to this, and I really, really admire the work that you do and the work of WO3. So thank you for having me. The Hivery, and I know you have been connected to the Hivery in some ways for a long time.
A long time. So
Yes.
yeah, so I'm a Hivery member. I was a Hivery member when you in San Francisco, when you opened up your beautiful space in San Francisco. But let's tell people like what it is.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yes.
So the Hivery started in 2014. So we have been around for, almost a decade now. We started in early 2014 as one of the first, what I call female fueled co-working spaces in the United States. And it started out like a lot of businesses do, kind of as a question or an experiment that I had of do other women need a space and community in order to create their meaningful work the way that I felt that I did. And it was interesting when I opened our doors initially at our first space, a small space in a loft in an art gallery in Sausalito, California. I opened it kind of with a question of like, does anyone else feel like this too? And the answer was resounding yes. Like women just, were literally coming in droves, saying, I need this. I didn't know I needed this, but I need this. And it was such a beautiful time. There was so much energy of kind of feeling like when you're building something that you don't quite know what it is yet, and you don't quite know what the impact will be, but you feel in your belly or in your gut that, that you can really help people and support people in a way that also resonates with maybe something that, something that I'd been feeling that I was really missing. So we started out as, again, the first, female fueled co-working space. We grew very quickly. We opened another location in Mill Valley, California, just north of San Francisco. And then, like you mentioned, we opened in San Francisco in 2019. So, we were thriving. There was so much excitement and very positive commotion happening. We were serving, at that point, we had served, thousands of women through co-working space, through mentorship, through in-person workshops, through events. We had these incredible speakers coming. We had Diane von Furstenberg came. Tara Moore, who wrote the book Playing Big, was a speaker for us. Dr. Jill Biden, First Lady Jill Biden came. Marie Forleo came. I mean, it was just, there was so much buzz, if you will, no pun intended.
And also tell them about all the awards that you won for the physical spaces, because she built not a place for women to gather, but beautiful spaces that were inspiring and energetic. And you won a whole bunch of awards for that as well.
Yes, we did. We won the best office space in the US and Canada from Wayfair. And we just, it's interesting, like, I remember waking up in the middle of the night one night when we were building out San Francisco and realizing just the creative energy and power that comes from the creative fuel, if you will, that comes from really being able to pour your creative intention into something. So I looked at those spaces as a canvas. It was like a work of art of being able to, it could be whatever we wanted it to be as a community. That's what's so exciting about building something new is, you're not limited by old beliefs. You're kind of, it's a fresh slate. So it was a really beautiful time. When the pandemic hit, our business was very, very impacted. Especially at a time where the very kind of essence of our business was gathering, the very kind of, values-based part of our business. I always say our number one value is kindness as a community. So we were, before the pandemic, we were shoulder to shoulder at events. We were hugging, we were, spending long periods of time connecting together. That's what our business was about. So for obvious reasons, the pandemic, put a real damper on the way that we had done business in the past. And we pivoted and pivoted. And I felt like I was really in a position of having to we teach what we need to learn. And I had always taught that, the most meaningful, impactful businesses don't always come with ease, that there will be a period of resilience and tenacity that every creative entrepreneur or writer or artist or social justice leader has to really lean into. And I felt like the pandemic was the time for me that I had to lean into my resilience. Ultimately, our business pivoted and pivoted, like I said, to a point that, and the pandemic lasted so much longer than any of us could have imagined, to a point where we indeed had to close our spaces, our beautiful spaces that were this tribute to women. However, I had always said that the co-working spaces were transportation for something much deeper and more impactful in terms of our commitment to elevating the voices of women. And when we had to close our spaces permanently, it was an opportunity for me and the Hivery community to walk that walk. And we did. So I'm really proud to say that even though, closing the tangible spaces of the Hivery was very painful, we are a growing and thriving membership community with now members all over the world. We had members joining us during the pandemic and very recently that said, we've been watching what the Hivery is doing for years. We felt like, we always wanted to get involved, and now we can.
Yes.
So that's what we've grown into. And it was, I won't sugarcoat it. It was a very painful road, but I think it made me a better leader for women entrepreneurs, women creatives, women artists, women writers, in terms of walking the walk of tenacity and resilience.
Yes, definitely tenacity and resilience. And I think that having, I'm a member as well, that the support services inside the membership actually bring through that theme, right? That it's all about that safe container where you can grow, change, evolve, knowing it's not going to be easy, but you have all of these people to support you and guide you and mentor you and show you the way, or share the difficulties and have someone just have complete empathy. So can you tell us a little bit more about what the membership looks like now? If it's worldwide, like, what does that mean to be in the Hivery membership? What if I'm a member, what do I get? What do I enjoy? What do I experience?
Yeah, I'd love to. So, one of the things, and I mentioned this, our core values are kindness, creativity, and community. I always say kindness first. Our community leads with kindness. And that means that we are a trusted space for women to come to, like you said, when things are hard. So when we're building something that's really deeply important to us, meaningful to us, is connected to the future that we're creating for ourselves, of course, there is going to be things that we don't know how to do. There's going to be times where our confidence really goes down, or our inner critic gets really noisy. And it's at those junctures that you really, when you're in isolation, trying to sort out a new business or a new art or a new book under those kind of tenets, it becomes really challenging. And that is the point where people often quit.
Yeah.
So the difference is when you're doing that out of isolation, when you're doing that with a community that is going through something similar or has and gotten through the other side, there is a different energy, there's a different momentum and a different kind of trust in yourself that you too can get through this. You can build something, even though it's challenging sometimes. So I think it's really just the very basic tenet of community is super, super important. And the Hivery membership provides that. So we are, a community, like you said, now of women creating their next chapters all over the world. And that can look like a lot of different things. That can look like someone who is seeking something new. Maybe they used to be a this and now they want to be a that. Maybe they're going back to work after a time away, spent, caring for either children or aging parents or all of the various life things that happen that change our work requirements and our work lives. Women are building businesses, creating businesses in record numbers.
Yes.
I believe, partially due to the fact that there is not a system in place that is workable for us as women in what we are, all of the things that we're managing. So what so many women are looking for is freedom.
Mhm.
And having your own business is a sense of freedom. It's also a huge sense of responsibility. And it's like I said, it's venturing into the unknown. So our community, it provides, there's two sides of it. One thing that our community provides is the inspiration, motivation, and accountability to keep going. The other thing that our community provides is the more tangible mentorship, the practical how-tos, the like, I don't know how to do this. Does anyone out there know how to do this? And our community provides an ecosystem for that. So that looks like guest master classes on, topics that we curate, that we know are vital or inspiring, or what our members need to know to grow their meaningful work. It looks like accountability groups, which we call honeypods. Honeypods, I love. This is an amazing program that it's relatively new to the Hivery in this form. But it's just such an amazing success because we're realizing that when people break up into groups of 4 or 5, and they're able to consistently week over week check in with their honeypod, that sort of encouraging, supportive accountability is game changing. So we're seeing people, what it means is that you're not alone when times get hard. You've got this kind of support squad that's right there for you. So our, guest master classes, honeypods, member networking. I used to never use the word networking because it kind of made me like, I would go to networking things and be like, oh, I don't like this. But real meaningful networking, where it's under those tenets of kindness and creativity and community, that says like, I'm going to put myself out there and tell you what I do, and you can do the same. And we can both acknowledge that it takes practice, and, it might be hard sometimes, but knowing that you've got people that are listening.
Yeah.
And interested.
Yeah. And interested.
Yeah. It takes practice. It takes practice to describe what you do, especially
if you're working on your next chapter, right? Because if you're in a state of evolution or something at the very beginning, there's all that confidence issues. So you need to refine your vision, but then you have to be able to have the confidence to actually say it out loud. And then when you're with other women that are on that same path, then there's like a level set kind of acknowledgement that we're both working really hard to be able to describe what we're doing and evolve in what we're doing. And we're not going to be afraid to be judged, right? Because that's the whole thing. Like if you go to a networking event, you feel like you have to be pitch perfect and everything has to be perfect, because it's like there's this one chance to get it right. Whereas when you're in a Hivery event, there's just all these incredibly intelligent, kind women that are as equally committed to partnering, promoting, and supporting each other. So if you get into a conversation, well, tell me what you do, that person's like really wants to hear. And then you want to really hear, because it's like, you're going to be around a whole bunch of women doing, working on their next chapter. So it's different than networking. It's more supportive, I guess.
100%.
In my experience.
100%. Because it's interesting too. I think sometimes like the perfectionist in all of us thinks that we're just supposed to have this stuff figured out.
Right.
And the truth is that anytime, really anything we're doing, but especially when you're creating, again, a next chapter, there is a feeling of unknown. There's a feeling of insecurity. There's a feeling of like, is this how I say it? Does this resonate? Does this make sense? So we need an opportunity to practice.
Right.
And that's what real kind community like the Hivery, it creates, and much more. It creates a whole ecosystem where, women are buying from each other, funding each other, like collaborating with each other, becoming each other's clients, becoming each other's friends.
Yes.
And it creates this place where you're able to like be iterative in what you're working on and try something on, try saying it one way and say like, Joanna, does that resonate with you? It matters. That really matters. And how in our confidence, and also how we grow as, whether that's as creative entrepreneurs or writers or artists, like putting ourselves out there takes practice. And we want to do that in a community that's kind and supportive and really wants to elevate us.
I know. And I would say that, one of the things I was going to ask you is like, what makes the Hivery different? Like there's lots and lots of networking, women's groups or organizations. It's like, well, then what makes the Hivery different? And I would say that, what would you say? Like if I were to say, hey, Grace, hey, I can join this membership or this membership, like why would I want to join the Hivery beyond all other women's organizations or networking?
Yeah. I mean, there's two reasons. One is that what our members have in common is they are creating a next chapter. And that can be scary and exciting and, and hopeful and bring out all of our insecurities, right? So when we are creating a next chapter, we're sensitive beings. And that's like when you're kind of like opening yourself up to new possibility, you're in a sensitive state. So you want to surround yourself with people that are supportive, are going through something similar, and I will say this, and are kind. So one of the things that sets us apart is we are completely committed to kindness. So we make sure that it doesn't mean that, you can be kind and impactful. You can be kind and profitable. It doesn't mean that it's all fuzzy wuzzy, right?
No, right.
It's very, very impactful, but it creates the feeling of like, this is a place that I can explore. I can experiment. I don't have to know all the answers. I can ask for help.
You can ask for help. There it
And
is.
that's different. That is different. And, I really believe that this idea that we are all like, life is not linear, right? So as we're creating our lives, we're not like, it's not like I do this and then I move on to this. And then we're all in kind of this like circular motion of like, I'm seeking, I'm building, I'm growing, I'm seeking, I'm building, I'm growing. And just being around other people that acknowledge and accept that is enormous. So I think that that's a big part of what makes us different. We are totally committed to kindness, and we are a community of women creating our next chapters together.
Right. And you're trying to foster confidence, right? So that it's okay if I have a new idea, and it's okay if I don't know all the answers, and it's okay if I run up against personal resistance or fear that I'm doing it, that, is this a good enough idea, or do I have the gumption to follow through? And I know that you mentioned to me that you, during this period of pivot, when you were, the in-house, beautiful facility, everyone would come physically in person to the Hivery, and then the pandemic made you pivot. And so your confidence, right? So even as an entrepreneur that was riding high, and all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh, right? So you had mentioned that the Hivery has always been a place for you to kind of rebuild your own personal confidence. And I think you even mentioned you wrote something about that, right?
I
About
did.
how you had to dig deep during that time to kind of rebuild your own confidence.
It was really fascinating because, like you said, I was so in the flow of this creation. Like I was just so excited. We were growing. It was like the momentum was amazing. And I was also serving women during that time, the whole time, that were at some time or another had struggled with their confidence.
Yes.
Then when I had my own kind of heartbreak, as it related to the way that the pandemic affected my business, my confidence took a huge, huge hit. So what I had to do, that I think is such a healthy exercise for anyone who teaches or mentors, is realize that, I needed to shore up with the very same tools that I've been teaching to others. I had to use those tools myself. So I wrote a book. I wrote this ebook that I'm really excited about called You're More Ready Than You Think. It's 5 steps to getting your confidence back. And it's the tools and lessons and mindset shifts that I use to get my own confidence back, during a time that business and life and all the ways that those are intertwined was a struggle, and my confidence took a huge hit. So I think it's exciting and humbling as teachers and leaders, when we can teach and espouse these tools, and then we have to use them ourselves. So I'm really excited. I created this book. It's free. I love to share it with your audience.
Yeah. Love that.
You go to thehivery.com/confidence back.
Okay.
That's thehivery.com/confidence back. And you'll see that whole ebook. That's all the tools that I use to get my own confidence steadied. We're never going to it's not like we're ever going to shut down the inner critic, right? Like, it's just a matter of how much we allow it to infiltrate our day-to-day inspiration, our day-to-day actions, our day-to-day impact. So these are tools that I use to get my confidence back up so that I could keep making a difference and keep making the impact that I knew I wanted to make.
And having witnessed you go through that journey, I can say that just like your name, Grace,
Mm,
with just incredible resilience and tenacity simultaneously, to say the Hivery matters. And if it needs to merge into something entirely new, and I don't know what the new looks like, I'm going to keep going. And the keep going is like, we're just riding the wave with you to
mm,
enjoy what can become when women come together, and you just keep providing those incredible platforms for us to do that.
yes.
What do you want to tell us about Grace, that about you, that maybe people would love to know, that makes a better understanding of how you came to be doing this incredible work?
Well, I will just say, just riffing on what you just said, which, thank you so much for seeing me and being on this journey with me. I really appreciate that. But this is what happens. I mean, I just want to say, like, even though it has been challenging, there was never a doubt in my mind that I wasn't put on this planet to elevate women and help them to bring out the unique potential that each of us has. So for me, that's my zone,
Mhm.
that's where I live. That's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So when you are working in that zone, in the thing that gets you out of bed in the morning, it will matter to you so deeply that even when challenges come up that are completely unforeseen, completely not your fault, completely out of your control, it won't matter. You'll
Mhm.
keep going. And I feel like that's the gift that I've been given, is that I found this thing that I believe in so deeply that even pandemics can't stop me. So and it's interesting because it's also why I do this work, because I believe that each of us has that inside. And I've been able to taste what it's like. I think the thing that people, may not know about me is that so much of where this came from, I have very sadly lost a lot of people that I'm very close to, lost people in my family. I've experienced a lot of death in my family in the last decade. What is fascinating to me about grief is that it takes us to a place, often kind of like our darkest hour. And what I've seen in both in myself and many women that I've supported is that some of the greatest, most powerful, most authentically you transformation comes from the darkest times. I'm not saying that it's not like a rosy way of putting like a bow on it. It's not that at all. But I just have seen, and I've seen it in myself, that so much of my greatest growth, like when I finally got the closest to what I was really put on this planet to do, came from the darkest hour. So I say that not to be depressing, but for those of us, like, we are all going to go through something enormously challenging. And whether that is death of a loved one or loss of a business because of the pandemic or whatever that is, or a relationship or whatever that is, I just am going to say that I have seen time and time again in myself and in the community of women that I love and support, that some of the greatest transformation comes from the darkest times. So that's something I can share as a maybe it's a spark of hope
This is
that
spark.
there's so much impact and substance that comes out of our resilience
Mhm.
and our human capacity to keep going and keep serving and
Mhm.
keep saying, like, who can I help?
Yeah, who can I help? I
So
love
it becomes something really profound.
it.
And it's kind of like, do I want to feel that pain? Heck no.
Right. I know.
But, no, of course I don't. But do I want the human experience that means I show up for all of it?
Mhm.
Like the love, the agony, and does that propel me closer to being able to really support and help and be compassionate? Like, then I'm signing up.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you absolutely provide people deep understanding and compassion. And I think that that's the energy that's very prevalent when you're interacting with women in the Hivery, is that this is not a place for, this is a place for meaningful conversations and connections. So I love that. So thank you for sharing that. I know that's not easy, but it's always so interesting to kind of understand the driver behind the path.
Yeah.
So thank you very much.
Yeah. It's not easy, but it's the truth. And I
I
know a
know.
lot of us are going through our own truth, so.
I know. So sharing something that you're excited about, right? So you had mentioned to me that you have 2 books that you are really loving right now that are written by women, and are impacting you and how you are thinking about things. Do you want to share how you are right now, like your shout out of something really exciting?
Yeah, I have 2 fun shout outs, and they came from like a kind of a personal commitment and exploration that I have within the Hivery, which is like, how do we blend this new global community that we have that is mostly virtual online with this craving and yearning and our roots of like, we connect in person, we connect offline, we connect in like I said, in crowded rooms, shoulder to shoulder, where we can hug. So now that we're finally able to do that again, one of the things that I brought back that I just love doing is interviewing authors. So in the last couple of months, I've interviewed 2 authors that I wanted to share their books because they've been very inspiring for me as I'm writing my own book. But one is Jada Selner, and she wrote a great book called She Builds that is all around building business without the hustle culture, and especially for women building businesses differently. So it's a beautiful book. I highly recommend it. And then the second one that is an interview I just did last month with Lynn Twist, who is an amazing philanthropist and founder of Pachamama Alliance. She wrote a book called Living a Committed Life. And I am in love with this book because it reminds us of our personal responsibility, our personal commitments to the, whether it's the things that break our heart or the things that we want to change. She talks about like how to live in a committed way so that we're actually doing those things and taking the action and, stepping into our commitment and being what we say we are, or being what we think or dream about. So it's a really beautiful reminder of how much capacity we have inside when we commit to what we believe in.
And I did indeed attend that event, and I bought the book, and I'm reading the book. And I will say it's an absolute must read for any woman, because it gives you a whole new perspective on living your life. And the author is just the wisest, most amazing woman who's lived the most incredible committed life in a variety of areas of just incredible philanthropy. So Grace, thank you so much for today. I have so much enjoyed our conversation, and I'm excited for whoever's listening to this, for you guys to look into the Hivery. So it's thehivery.com.
Yep.
And I think you should join. That's what I think. I tell everybody about the Hivery, and I'm like, you got to join the Hivery. Just join it. So if someone wants to join the Hivery, where can they go to go do that so they can start getting all the support that the Hivery offers?
And thank you for saying that, because I do, I think that it's one of those things that you can't understand the magic until you get inside, so please join us. We'd love to have you. Go to thehivery.com/join. We are doing something right now where if you put in code new start 50, so all caps, all one word, new start 50, thehivery.com/join, you get 50% off your first month. We'd love to have you. So yes, come be with us. And like I said, check out that book that I mentioned, thehivery.com/confidence back. And you'll learn a lot more about the Hivery way and our, like I said, the tools that I used, and what the community does to support each other. And we each have such a beautiful next chapter inside us. And I get out of bed every morning with just the excitement of helping women bring that out and bring that into the world. So that's what the Hivery is about. And we'd love to have you.
Thank you so much, Grace. I just so much enjoyed our conversation today.
Oh, likewise, Joanna. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure to see you and spend time with you.
Take care.